In the silence before time, before light scattered into color, before the stars etched their patterns into the heavens, there was vibration. Pure, undivided, eternal movement. Thoth, the ancient sage, the master of knowledge, called this the first principle. Long before the sciences of sound and waveforms, long before language gave names of things, Thoth taught that vibration was the essence from which all matter, all thought, all soul emerged. Nothing is still. Nothing rests. Every particle, every emotion, every breath is moving, pulsing, vibrating. Thoth said that to understand this law is to unlock the first gate to creation, because those who master vibration can master form, and those who master form can shape reality. This is not metaphor. In the Emerald Tablets, Thoth speaks of utterances, sacred words charged with intent, that could move stone, command wind, and even bend time. These words were not powerful because of their meaning, but because of the vibration they carried. A sound tuned to the right frequency could lift a stone the way a song can lift a soul. It was not brute force. It was harmony with the secret rhythm of the universe. Vibration, Thoth said, is the bridge between thought and matter. A pure thought, held with enough clarity and intensity, begins to resonate. It gains frequency. And once it vibrates in sync with the world around it, it begins to shape it. This is how reality is formed, not through action alone, but through resonance. This is the root of all magic, all creation. This is why mantras matter. This is why prayer changes outcomes. Not because the gods are listening, but because the sounds we make align us with the deeper currents of life. When we speak in harmony with truth, the universe responds, not as a god with a servant, but as a mirror responds to light. Thoth did not teach vibration only as theory. He gave practices, silent meditation, sacred tones, geometric patterns spoken into existence through voice and breath. He taught his initiates that by changing the frequency of one's own being, through intention, word, and vibration, one could heal illness, banish fear, and even pass through death unshaken. There is an ancient symbol of Thoth holding an ankh and a staff. Many think it's a sign of royalty or power, but it is also a diagram of vibration. The ankh, with its loop, represents the eternal pulse of life. The staff, straight and firm, is the frequency that does not waver. Together, they are stability within motion, the balanced vibration, the key to eternity. This law also explains why fear is so contagious, why love can heal, why hate destroys. Every emotion has a frequency, and when we feel something deeply, we emit that frequency like a radio tower. Others pick it up, consciously or not. We are not isolated beings. We are tuning forks, constantly resonating with the energies around us. Thoth taught that a single awakened being, vibrating in pure love and truth, could transform an entire civilization simply by holding that frequency steady. But here's what they don't want you to know. Those who thrive on fear, division, and confusion. They have built systems, media, and institutions that amplify lower vibrations. Fear, shame, rage, envy. Because when people are in those states, they become easy to control. A being vibrating in fear cannot manifest truth. A being vibrating in chaos cannot align with the divine. This is not conspiracy. It is mechanics, spiritual physics. This is why those teachings were hidden, encoded in symbols and metaphors, guarded by initiates. Because if everyone knew how powerful their vibration was, how easily they could change their lives through intention and clarity, the illusion of power would collapse. The few could not rule the many. The lies would dissolve, and humanity would awaken. The truth is simple. Everything is energy. Everything moves. You are not a fixed thing. You are a flowing song, a changing frequency, a beam of thought and motion. When you remember this, when you feel it in your bones, you begin to live differently. You stop reacting. You start creating. This is the first key of Thoth. Vibration is the origin. It is the method, and it is the path. Master it, and the gates will open. We are taught to believe that time is a straight line, that the past lies behind us, the future ahead, and the present is just a fleeting breath in between. But Thoth, the timeless scribe of the gods, revealed something very different. To him, time was not a prison, but a veil, a shifting current, not a chain. a flexible river that the soul could learn to step out of, walk across, even fold in its hands. He wrote, "Time is an illusion, a circle within a circle, a dream within a dream." This is one of his most hidden teachings, and it changes everything. According to Thoth, the soul is not bound by time. It only appears that way because of the body. Our senses make the world feel like it moves in a sequence, one moment after another. But this is a trick of the flesh. In truth, all moments already exist. All lives are happening now. The past, the future, and the now are layered together, like pages in a book. But we can only read one page at a time, unless we learn how to step back and see the whole book. Thoth claimed to do exactly this. He said he remembered many lifetimes, thousands, not just memories, but living connections. He described walking among the stars before Earth was formed. He wrote about living in Atlantis, and later in Egypt, and again in places no historian has ever named. He said that time was something he could travel through, like a ship across the sea. How is this possible? Thoth explained that time is shaped by perception. What we believe about time becomes our reality. The more we believe we are trapped in it, the tighter it holds us. But when we begin to see through it, the grip loosens. Our dreams become clearer. Our intuitions sharpen. We start to feel things before they happen. We remember things we never learned in this life. These are not accidents. These are the early signs of stepping beyond time. There are practices hidden in his writings. Silent meditation on the flow of stars. Breathing exercises that sync with lunar rhythms. Visualization techniques where the initiate sees their life as a circle, not a line. These were not rituals for show. They were keys to shift perception, to begin unlocking the door. And once the door is open, something strange begins to happen. Synchronicities multiply. You think of a person and they call. You dream of a place, and then you find yourself there. You sense what someone is about to say before they speak. This is not magic. It is alignment. It is the beginning of timeless awareness. Thoth also warned of the dangers. When one plays with time unprepared, they can lose their anchor. They may start to forget which life they're in or feel disoriented in the body. That's why he emphasized grounding, connecting with earth, holding stillness, practicing silence. These were not minor details. They were safeguards. He also spoke of something even more powerful, the moment between lives, the space between death and rebirth. In this space, he said, the soul sees clearly. It remembers. It chooses. But because most people are unconscious, they sleep even here. They are pulled back into life by karma, by unresolved lessons. But those who awaken, those who learn to see time as it truly is, can choose their next life with clarity. They can return with purpose, or not return at all. Thoth wrote of beings who had mastered time so fully that they no longer aged. They lived in hidden temples, untouched by years. Their bodies shimmered with light. Their thoughts moved faster than speech. These were not myths. They were a result of vibration and perception elevated beyond the illusion of time. But why was this knowledge hidden? Why do we learn this in schools, in temples, in the open? Because a being who understands time cannot be ruled. They do not fear death. They do not rush or panic. They see manipulation instantly. And most of all, they move with purpose. They are immune to the greatest control system ever built, the calendar of fear. When you believe your life is a single shot, with a deadline fast approaching, you make desperate choices. You settle for less. You obey blindly. You forget your eternity. But when you know you've lived before and will live again, you act from a deeper place. You begin to listen. You stop chasing. You remember who you are. And this is the heart of Thoth's second hidden teaching. Time is not your master. It is your mirror. When you are rushed, time rushes you. When you are still, time opens. When you remember, time bows. You are not a slave of the clock. You are the dreamer of worlds. Step beyond the illusion, and life becomes something new. Not a race, but a dance. Not a sentence, but a song. There's a flame within you that never dies. It is not made of fire, and yet it burns brighter than the stars. It is not a metaphor, but real force, ancient, eternal, and alive. Thoth called it the inner sun. And to those who knew its secret, it was the greatest power a soul could awaken. This light is not physical. It does not shine from your skin or cast shadows on walls. It lives in your center, beyond the heart, beyond the bones. It is a light that sees, that remembers, that knows. Thoth wrote that this light is a spark of the one source, the original fire from which all things were born. He called it the seed of the divine. It is the part of you that was never created and will never end. In the temples of old, initiates were taught not just to honor this light, but to become it. They were trained in silence, breath, and inner sight. They learned to listen not with ears, but with soul. They were told, "You are not the body, you are not even the mind, you are the light that watches both." Thoth taught that this light is the true self, not the personality that changes, not the thoughts that flicker, but the steady presence behind it all, the witness, the source, the eternal I am. And here lies a hidden power. When you connect to this light, truly and deeply, something begins to shift. You start to feel guidance from within. You make choices not out of fear, but out of knowing. You begin to heal, not because of pills or formulas, but because the light corrects what is untrue. Illness, confusion, depression. These are symptoms of forgetting who you are. The light remembers. And when you remember with it, the body and mind follow. Thoth said that the gods were not outside us. They were within. The gods were symbols of forces, courage, wisdom, clarity, creation, and each one lived within the inner sun. To invoke a god, one did not pray outwardly. One entered the light and called forth the quality. To become Horus was to awaken vision. To become Isis was to awaken devotion. These were not myths. These were living archetypes, doorways within the soul. He also warned, the light must be respected. If you chase it with ego, it hides. If you seek it for power, it dims. But if you approach it with stillness, with sincerity, it answers, not with words, but with presence, with clarity, with peace, so deep it changes how you see everything. The inner sun is not a theory. It is felt, and those who have touched it know. They radiate something you cannot fake. A calm, a steadiness, a silent joy. They are not controlled by outer chaos. They move through the world, but are not shaken by it. They do not speak much, but when they do, it cuts through confusion like a blade of light. This is why the inner sun was hidden, why it was cloaked in symbols, buried in temples, whispered only from teacher to student. Because once you awaken it, you become impossible to deceive. You see lies instantly. You feel truth in your bones. You cannot be hypnotized by fear, by fame, by illusion. You become sovereign. Those who seek control over others do not want this. They build systems that distract from the light. Endless noise, constant fear, addictions, divisions, identities, all to keep the mind outside, away from the core. Because once you return to the core, you don't need them. You don't need approval, status, or permission. You walk in your own light. But the truth is, no one can truly take the light from you. They can only convince you to forget. And that is why this teaching matters now more than ever. Because the world is drowning in artificial light. Screens, signals, superficial pleasures. While the true light inside grows dim from neglect. Those words are a wake-up call. Within thee burns the flame of the divine. Nourish it, guard it, let it shine. You do not need to search the world to find it. It is already here, right now. As you listen, as you breathe, the light watches through your eyes. It listens with your ears. It waits patiently for you to turn inward. When you do, everything changes. Not all at once, but in steady, powerful waves. You begin to remember. You begin to feel who you've always been. And the illusions of separation, of failure, of fear begin to melt. You are not lost. You are not broken. You are light in human form. And the more you trust this, the more the light will lead you, not as a guide outside, but as a silent flame within. There are forces in the universe that do not wear names. They're older than stars, older than thought. They do not live in temples or hover in clouds. Yet they watch, they guide, they weigh and record. Thoth called them the seven lords, beings of vast intelligence, beyond time, who guard the balance of existence. These are not gods in the way we often imagine. They are not jealous, not wrathful, not bound to culture or religion. They are cosmic intelligences, silent watchers of the universal order. In the Emerald Tablets, Thoth describes them not with fear, but with awe. He says they dwell in the place where time begins, a realm beyond the physical, where thought and law merge into one. They are the keepers of the scales, not judging in anger, but measuring in truth. Every soul, every action, every thought is known to them, not through surveillance, but through resonance. Like tuning forks to truth, they feel imbalance instantly. When something in the universe moves out of alignment, the lords begin to work, not with punishment, but with correction. Each of the 7 lords holds a unique force. One governs time, another the pathways of souls. One oversees creation, one dissolution. One carries the memory of all that has been. One guides the destinies yet to come. And the last holds the key to the great silence, the source from which all things rise and return. Thoth said he was taught directly by these lords. In the early age of man, when the veils between realms were thin, he was brought before them, not in body but in soul. He described standing in a space of pure light, where thought had form and silence was speech. There, the 7 imparted not just words, but essence. They planted within him a mission, to preserve truth through the coming ages of darkness. And so, Thoth became a vessel, a recorder of divine memory. His teachings are not just human insights, but echoes of the Lord's wisdom, adapted for minds wrapped in flesh. He warned that forgetting these beings would lead to chaos, not because they demand worship, but because their laws are the structure of harmony. Just as planets must obey gravity, souls must honor balance. When people live in harmony with these cosmic laws, laws of truth, of balance, of unity, life flows, societies flourish, inner peace becomes possible. But when these laws are broken, through greed, lies, violence, and fear, things fall apart, not as punishment, but as a natural consequence. The lords do not interfere unless the imbalance threatens a greater design. That is why, in times of great global crisis, mysterious signs appear, a sudden awakening in consciousness, an urge in many to seek deeper meaning, a collapse of old systems. These are not random. They are the subtle adjustments of the 7, not loud, not direct, but firm, invisible hands steering the ship of humanity back to its true path. There are ancient stories hidden in temple carvings and oral traditions of people who met one of these lords in dreams or in near-death experiences. Always the same feeling, overwhelming presence. Not love as emotion, but love as law. A sense that every secret is known, every pain understood. No judgment, just clarity. And in that clarity, healing. Thoth gave no names for these lords, because names limit. He gave no images, because forms distract. Instead, he taught the signs of their presence. When truth suddenly becomes clear, when lies collapse under their own weight, when synchronicity weaves patterns too perfect to ignore. In those moments, the lords are near. They are not to be worshipped. That was never their wish. They are to be honored through alignment. When you live in truth, you are their ally. When you seek balance in yourself and in the world, you become their voice. When you choose soul over ego, service over domination, light over illusion, you walk in their current. This teaching was hidden because it threatens control. A society built on fear cannot survive truth. A system built on deception cannot coexist with divine law. That's why Thoth's words were buried, fragmented, encoded. Because when people understand the 7, they stop fearing death. They stop obeying blindly. They start remembering their place in a much larger, living cosmos. You are not alone. You have never been. Even when you feel lost, when the world feels upside down, there are watchers beyond time who hold the balance. They do not interfere in every detail, but they are always aware, always responding to the great movement of the soul's journey. The more you live in alignment, the more you sense them, not as voices, not as visions, but as a steady peace, a clarity that cuts through confusion, a knowing that does not waver. This is Thoth's 4th hidden teaching, that behind all chaos there is order, behind all lies there is truth, and watching silently over all there are 7, ancient, powerful, and just. They need no temples, because the temple is within you. There's a place that exists beyond the veil of death, a space untouched by decay, beyond time, beyond fear. Thoth called it the halls of Amenti, but these are not halls as we understand them, not stone chambers or golden rooms. They are a dimension of deep silence, a sacred zone between worlds, where souls are stripped of illusion and awakened to their true form. Most have never heard of this place. Those who have misunderstood it, imagining it as a realm of judgment or punishment. But Thoth made it clear, Amenti is not a prison. It is a temple, not built by hands, but formed by divine intent. It is where the soul returns to be purified, to be measured, not in shame, but in clarity. In the oldest texts, Thoth writes of his journeys to Amenti. He did not go there through death, but by conscious will. He said, I descended into the darkness of Amenti and found a light that never fades. For Thoth, Amenti was not a destination. It was a stargate, a passage through which the soul could ascend beyond the cycle of birth and death, if it was prepared. So what is this gate? Where does it lead? Thoth explains that the soul carries many layers. When we die, the body is shed, but the soul continues. It moves into the inner planes, where its true vibration is revealed. In Amenti, there is no lying, no pretending. The soul is seen exactly as it is, by itself and by the guardians. Yes, they're guardians, beings of immense stillness, who radiate presence, not judges in robes, but mirrors of truth. They do not speak, but in their silence, everything is known. Thoth said standing before them felt like standing inside a star, every secret exposed, yet no fear, only clarity. And then comes the weighing, not of deeds alone, but of vibration. What was your essence? What did you become? Were you aligned with love or twisted by fear? Did you live your truth or betray it? These questions are not asked, they are felt. The soul itself answers through its own resonance. And based on that, the next phase is revealed. Some souls, still heavy with illusion, are sent to rest, not punished but healed. Others, burdened by unresolved karma, are returned to the world for another life, another chance. And a few, very few, are allowed to pass through. These are the ones who remembered while alive, who saw beyond the veil, who lived from the light of the inner sun. They pass through the gate and become something else. Not spirits, not gods, but conscious, eternal beings, able to return at will, to help, to teach, to guide. Thoth said he chose to return. He walked among mortals not because he had to, but because he remembered his mission. He said, I dwell in the halls of Amenti, yet I walk among you. I serve the light and I guard the path. This is one of his most secret teachings, that the halls are not just a place after death. They are accessible now within, through deep meditation, through dreaming, through sacred intention. One can begin to open the stargate within, not as fantasy, but as experience. Those who've reached it speak of a silence more powerful than sound, a presence that watches without form, a love so total it dissolves the sense of separation. The key is vibration. Just as a radio must tune to the right frequency to receive a signal, the soul must purify its inner signal to access Amenti. Fear, pride, violence, they distort the signal. Love, humility, stillness, they align it. This is why Thoth taught discipline, not to control, but to clear the static. There are stories, quiet, hidden stories, of people who, in moments of near death or deep initiation, touched Amenti. Some saw their entire life in an instant. Others met the guardians. Some were shown their true name, a sound, a vibration that shattered their sense of identity and rebuilt it in light. These people returned changed, calmer, wiser, less afraid. Why, then, is this not spoken of? Why do modern teachings ignore it? Because it dismantles fear. It dissolves the hold of death. A soul that knows where it goes cannot be controlled. It lives with purpose, with dignity. It cannot be bought or silenced or misled. This threatened system is built on confusion and control. That is why Amenti has been hidden, disguised as myth, buried in texts, dismissed by skeptics. but Thoth left keys, symbols, words that activate memory. For those with eyes to see and hearts ready to remember, the gate is never far. You are not a victim of death. You are not a product of chance. You are a traveler through dimensions, a soul on a long journey home. And the halls of Amenti are not some distant heaven. They are part of your design, the bridge between the mortal and the eternal. To walk this path is not to escape life, but to live it fully, with eyes open, with heart aligned, with fear dissolved. This is the fifth secret, that within you is a stargate, a chamber of light. And when you are ready, it opens, not to judge, but to reveal, not to punish, but to awaken. Above the temples and the stars, below the stones and the bones, there is a law that binds all things. It is not enforced. It simply is. It moves silently through the structure of the cosmos, like a breath, like a rhythm. Thoth called it the Great Law. We know it today as above, so below. This is not poetry. It is a formula, a map, a cosmic truth encrypted in the simplest of phrases. As above, so below means that what happens in the higher realms is mirrored in the lower ones. The stars above reflect the thoughts within. The structure of galaxies is echoed in the patterns of your brain. The spirals of the cosmos repeat in your cells. The divine is not far away. It is coded into your form. Thoth taught that man is not a creature crawling blindly through life. Man is the image of the all, not in the physical sense, but in essence, in structure, in potential. To understand the universe, you must understand yourself. And to truly know yourself, you must look to the heavens, not with eyes, but with soul. The ancient temples were not just places of worship. They were maps of the stars, built in stone. They were physical echoes of higher realms. The priests walked them not just as halls, but as initiatory paths. Every chamber represented a phase of inner transformation. Every ritual mirrored celestial movements. Every act on earth, when performed with intention, activated resonance in the higher worlds. This is the secret of the ancients, what they encoded in pyramids, in symbols, in chants. They were not primitive. They were engineers of soul. They knew that when the body, the mind, and the spirit align with cosmic law, a person becomes something more. They become a bridge between worlds. Thoth spoke of this path often. He said, "Man is a flame hidden in clay, a god asleep in matter. Wake him, and he becomes a light." This was not flattery. It was instruction. The goal of life, according to Thoth, was not to obey, not to suffer, not to wait for salvation, but to awaken, to rise, to embody the divine. What does this mean in practice? It means living in harmony, not as obedience, but as alignment. It means seeing every thought as a seed, every word as a vibration, every action as a ripple, to walk with awareness, to speak with intention, to love without condition. This is not moralism. It is physics of the soul. It means remembering that your body is a temple, that your breath is a prayer, that your desires are not curses, but clues, that your challenges are not punishments, but invitations to rise. It means no longer begging from the divine, but partnering with it, becoming its expression, its voice, its hands, its eyes. It means realizing that the gods are not out there, waiting to be pleased. They are within you, waiting to be lived. Thoth taught that this realization marks the true rebirth. The ancient initiation did not end in death. It ended in transfiguration. The initiate, having passed through fire, water, air, and earth, emerged not as a subject, but as a co-creator, a being who no longer fears the darkness, because they have become light. This is the real meaning of as above, so below. Not just reflection, but participation. The universe is not a machine you observe. It is a being you are part of. And once you realize that, you stop waiting. You start creating. But this teaching has been hidden for a reason, because a society of living gods cannot be ruled. They cannot be threatened, divided, or owned. Their allegiance is to truth, not to systems. Their loyalty is to the soul, not to the market. They remember their power, and so they move differently, speak differently, love differently. This is what those final teaching demands. Not worship, but awakening. Not escape, but embodiment. He did not call us to heaven. He called us to become it. Here, now, in this form, on this earth, you are not here by accident. You are not random. You are the meeting point of stars and soil, of breath and stone. Every cell in you is divine geometry. Every beat of your heart echoes the pulse of galaxies. And when you remember this, not just with thought, but with being, you return to your true place. This is a path. Not easy, but simple. Not fast, but certain. To live in truth. To honor the sacred in all things. To see through illusion. To create from love. To rise beyond fear. And in doing so, to walk as the gods once walked. Not above man, but within man. As a living bridge between the seen and unseen. You are the temple. You are the tablet. You are the flame. Remember who you are.